All right, today we're going to talk about a really powerful tool. Seriously, think of it like a health check for your company, a way to find out what's really going on under the hood so you can build a business that doesn't just survive, but actually thrives. It's called the McKinsey 7S framework. So let's just dive right in. To really get why this framework is such a game changer, we first have to talk about a super common problem, a really frustrating one that honestly most small business owners run into. Let me ask you something. Does your business ever just feel off? Out of sync? Like you've got all the right pieces on the board, good people, a great product, but for some reason, they're just not clicking together. It's this feeling of constant friction, like everything is just harder than it needs to be. And look, this isn't just some vague feeling in your gut, right? It shows up in very real, very painful ways. Maybe your team feels totally disconnected from the bigger picture. Or the processes that used to work just fine are now falling apart all the time. Growth feels more chaotic than exciting. You make these big strategic plans and they just fizzle out. And maybe the worst one, you lose really good people and you're left scratching your head wondering why. These aren't all separate problems. They're symptoms of one big underlying issue: misalignment. Okay, so what's the fix? How do you even begin to tackle a problem that feels like it's everywhere? Well, you need a blueprint, a diagnostic tool that lets you look at your entire business as a system. And that is exactly what this framework is all about. And here it is, the McKinsey 7S framework. What it is, at its core, is a model that helps you look at your business through the lens of 7 key areas. The whole idea is to figure out if those 7 pieces are actually working together to help you win, or, and this happens a lot, if they're accidentally working against each other. And this right here is the revolutionary insight. It's so simple, but so powerful. Think of your business like a spider's web. Each of these 7 elements is a single strand. Now, if you pull on one strand, let's say you change your company's strategy, it doesn't just affect that one strand. The vibration travels across the entire web. Everything else feels it. That interconnectedness, that's the whole secret. So what are these magical 7 elements? Well, the framework neatly splits them into 2 different categories. Okay, so on one side, you've got what they call the hard S's. These are the tangible things, the stuff you can easily point to on a piece of paper. We're talking about your strategy, your organizational structure, and your systems. Then, on the other side, you have the soft S's. These are the human elements, your shared values, your leadership style, your staff, and their skills. They're way harder to pin down, but man, they are often the most powerful drivers of your business. So let's do a quick flyby. Strategy, that's your game plan. Structure, that's your org chart, who reports to who. Systems, the actual day-to-day processes that get stuff done. Shared values, this is the big one. It's the heart and soul of your company. Style is how your leaders lead. Staff is all about having the right people. And skills are the unique talents your whole organization has. Seems simple, right? But the real magic happens in how they all dance together. Okay, enough theory. That's all great, but let's see how this thing actually works in the real world. I want to tell you a quick story about a small agency. We'll just call them Creative Solutions. And their story is probably going to sound pretty familiar. When they were just a tiny startup with 5 people, everything was great. Everybody was on the same page. But then they grew to 15 employees, and they just hit a wall, big time. They entered this phase of serious growing pains, and that forced them to get serious about an intentional evolution, to consciously redesign their company. And here was the problem. The very things that made them awesome as a tiny startup, super informal processes, the founder being in on every decision, those things started to completely break down as they grew. The founder, who was once their biggest asset, was now their biggest bottleneck. Nothing could move forward without them. You can literally see the misalignment across the 7 S's. Their structure was broken, the founder was drowning. Their informal systems were causing chaos and miscommunication. They had a huge skills gap. They were great at creative work, but terrible at managing projects. And their shared values, that original culture, was getting weaker with every new person they hired. The web was a complete mess. So this was their make or break moment. Instead of just trying to put out fires, they took a step back and used the 7S framework like a map. It helped them diagnose the real root causes of their pain, and they started to intentionally redesign the company for who they were now, not who they used to be. And wow, just look at the difference. The before and after is like night and day. Their strategy went from "we'll take any client" to focusing on specific industries where they could win. Their structure went from that single bottleneck to having clear team leads. Their chaotic, informal systems were replaced with real project management. And they filled that skills gap by investing in training for their people. You see, they pulled on one strand, and it helped them realign all the others. And the results? Get this. After they did all this work to get aligned, their revenue grew by 40% with the exact same number of people. That's not a fluke. That's what happens when you unlock the potential that's already sitting in your company by just getting everything to work together. And it wasn't just about making more money. By fixing their systems and their structure, they slashed client complaints by a whopping 60%. They were doing better work more consistently, all because they had finally tamed the internal chaos. This story is just incredible proof of how powerful alignment is. But it's not just for some made-up company. So how can you start doing this? Let's boil this whole thing down into a super simple, actionable plan that you can literally start using today. It really just comes down to 3 steps. First, assess. Take a brutally honest look at where you are right now across all 7 of those S's. What's working? What's a disaster? Second, design. Forget today for a minute. What does your ideal future state look like? What should these elements look like for you to hit your big goals? And third, and this is key, plan. You can't fix it all overnight, so pick the 1 or 2 changes that will have the biggest ripple effect and start there. Because at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. The businesses that really truly thrive aren't always the ones with the most money or the most resources. They're the ones that are aligned. They're the ones where everything, from the strategy down to the skills, just works together seamlessly. So to get you started, I'm going to leave you with one question to really think about. Look at your own business right now. Of those 7 elements we talked about, strategy, structure, systems, shared values, style, staff, and skills, which one is screaming for your attention first? Your answer to that question? Well, that's your first step on the path to alignment.